Sweet. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the first episode of Chook Chat, where myself and your favorite Roosters content creators will be on each week discussing all things Sydney Roosters and all the breaking news from the week it was over the week that was. So we've got our first special guest on, and funny enough, he's actually been voted somehow as the Rooster Creator of the Year. Somehow beat me. I'm still salty about. No, I'm not. But he took my flowers this year. It's a great leaguey, fresh from doing another episode of Bloke in a Bar. Leaguey, thanks for coming on, mate. How are you, my friend?
Nah, pleasure. Thank you for having me. I do want to apologize for taking that award off you. I felt very bad. I don't even do Roosters content. But it's nice to actually sit back and talk about my own team. I'm normally talking about everyone else. So I'm actually really looking forward to this.
Yeah, it's always good to talk about your own side. In a good or bad way, it doesn't really matter, but it's always good to talk about your team. But obviously, Leaguey, you announced yourself as a Roosters fan about, I reckon, 6 months ago.
Yeah, roughly.
Kept it quiet. Yep. I was one of the first ones to know that you were a Roosters fan, which I was honored and privileged to know. But how's it feel, though? I think I've asked you before, but how's it feel knowing that everyone knows that you're a Roosters fan now, that you're one of us officially?
Yeah. There's still been some times where, like, I've said something in a live stream or whatever that reveals I'm a Roosters fan. And I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. And then I remember, oh, wait, no, they all know. Because I kept it quiet for like a year. It was like straight up, I kept that so tight. And then the way it came out, it was like a former version of my Discord username was Sydney Rooster. And like at that point it was done. But I was so happy with the way I did the reveal video. People who are watching might have seen it, maybe not. But I walked in off camera, South songs playing. I'm wearing a South jersey, which I didn't want to do, but you know, you do it for content. I know.
You can't have anything to do with South. Look, I remember when we were at the South game this year in round 5. We don't want to talk about the result, but you were with us obviously after the Cowboys game, and then all my mates were like, "Was that guy in the green jacket? Was he a South fan?" I was like, "No, he's actually a Roosters fan, but he hasn't said it publicly. He's a Roosters fan." So, what was he wearing a green jacket for? But obviously, that's part of your, the work uniform, you would say. But but it's great that you are actually a Roosters fan. You know, it's always good that, and I think the Roosters fan base, like in the content space, is actually beginning to grow, which is really, really good. Obviously, you got myself, yourself, Patrick Gillespie, obviously Norman from Sportshed TV is another one.
Yep. Guru, I mean,
Guru is a Roosters fan as much as he has to be a Roosters fan because his brother Josh is part of the Jersey Flag, so he has to be a Roosters fan if he makes his NRL debut. So we got Guru hooked there, but it's great to see that obviously got my good mate of mine Lummy from Tricolour TV as well. So it's good to see that there's definitely some Roosters creators in the space, which is great to see.
Yeah, it is. For a club that they always say we got no fans. Here's the proof. There's heaps of us in the media space. Maybe we're just like really high level fans that always, we're passionate enough to make a content career out of it.
Yeah.
So it could 100%. Be that, but we'll see.
Yeah, 100%. Right. Well, I think it's time to get into the juicy stuff of today. I don't want to take too much of your time, and I do appreciate you coming on. Obviously, the big talking point from the weekend itself was the signing of Daly Cherry Evans. Now, I've had my say on it. Some of my followers on here that have their say. People have had their say. Leaguey, I want to hear your thoughts on it because it's a bit of a divide between the fan base, you would say. There's a lot of people that like it. Some don't like it. I've got pros and cons as myself. I'm optimistic about it myself. But I kind of agree what other people are saying on both sides of the fence. But I'm keen to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, it is a really interesting one. I do want to say shout out to the club's social media team for leaning into the fact that everyone already knew. It's been really funny, some of the content that they've been doing.
100%.
But yeah, it is one I've tossed and turned over. I mean, I said a couple of weeks ago that there are reports that it was for $500K for 1 year, and I was very happy with that. Then the actual signing was announced, and it looks like the terms of the contract are actually $600K, at least for the first year, and then a player option for the second year, by which point I think it'll be 38 for that second season. It does really concern me that we might not get the best out of him, especially in that second year. But I have said before, I'd rather be a fan of a club that takes a gamble to win a premiership rather than being a fan of one that plays conservatively to finish sixth or whatever. I mean, that's no different to what we've been doing in recent years. So have a go, back yourself to get the best out of the DCE, situation. What I will say is that given, like, assuming that the terms of the contract are what are being reported, I am a little bit surprised at how the Roosters going into negotiations have landed on 600K and essentially 2 years, given that we did have Savala there. Like, in my opinion, we were under no pressure whatsoever to sign DCE because Savala in his rookie season got a very young team into the finals. So I would have hoped for a slightly lower salary and maybe just 1 year. But look, he's a Rooster now, as weird as that is to say. I'm 100% backing him and hoping that it might be, as everyone is saying, Cooper Cronk 2.0.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. Like, it's hard for me, right? Because I mean, obviously, I believe you're a New South Welshman as well. As a Rooster, New South Welshman, never really liked DCE. Like, and there was actually clips of me like roasting DCE when he was playing Origin. So,
well, as well, like
never been a live stream going DC's a so and so. So I'm like, oh well, now
like,
he's at my
particularly
club,
though, like for us as Roosters fans, because he won the Clive in 2013. Like, we
exactly. I think that's one of the main
DCE.
reasons is because he sold the Clive of like either Sonny Bill or James Maloney that night. We don't need to get into it because that was an absolute debacle. Like, I believe James Maloney was involved in every single try in the 2013 grand final for the Roosters. And somehow he did not win the Clive Churchill. It was a joke. Anyway, I think we've been shafted in so many times around the Clive Churchill and Teddy in the Wally Lewis in 2018. But look, it is interesting about the player option. That's what really has got me interested and curious about the future of the club, because we've got obviously Hugo Savala, like you mentioned, who did a tremendous job this season filling in for Sam Walker, and you could say filling in for Chad Townsend as well. But it's hard to get a read on the whole DCE situation because obviously round 3 this year that he announced that he was departing Manly, and ever since then he was linked with the Roosters, very heavily linked to the Roosters. And Hugo didn't debut in the halves till round 6. He did debut in round 2 against Penrith, but he didn't debut in the halves till round 6. So has that got anything to do with it? Have we already made our mind up in early March, maybe late March, early April on this decision, and we've kept true to our word ever since then? Or has this been, in recent times where, Sam Walker, this is a very hard situation to obviously to reflect on, but there was a game where Sam Walker went down. Hugo Savala didn't have his best game. Hugo Savala didn't have his best game in that semi-final against the Sharks. Mind you, Sam Walker was knocked out against Parramatta, and Sam Walker also didn't play a good game. But what do you think? Like, do you reckon that we didn't do far enough in the finals? An early exit from the finals has made the final, go, look, we need DCE because we're not here to make up the numbers in the top 8. We're here to win premierships.
Well, yeah, definitely. I'm of a similar mind. And, we talk about the motto of the club being we play for premierships. You got to take a risk if you want to win a premiership. And we're putting together a spine next season of Tedesco, DCE, Walker, Robson. That is brilliant. That is an insane spine at its best. I think there'll definitely be people who say DC isn't what he was, or, we might not be able to get the best out of him. But you've got to back your own systems, right? You've got to back yourself to get the best out of a player like that. And in terms of how you assess the overall situation, it is obviously very dependent on the contract. I do want to point out our official statement, the Roosters statement on signing him, it only mentions 2026, and on NRL.com, under the contract section, there is no player option listed. So it might be a case that the media have just got this one wrong and it is just a 1-year deal, in which case I'm happy with that, especially considering we've got Tom Rodwell. Is it? I get the Rodwells confused, but it's one of the Rodwells. Toby Rodwell. Yes. Who's coming through, and the club love him. So it could be a case, as much as, I know you love Fluffy Savala heaps.
Oh, mate, this is a very touchy subject, talking about Fluffy, don't you worry.
Yeah.
But you are right, though.
Yeah. Yeah, it could just be a case that we've moved on. Well, not moved on, but like made a decision that maybe Savala isn't our guy. Rodwell is the man for the future. He's still a year or two away, so we'll get DC in. Rugby league's a business. It's tough.
100%. Like, and we are known to making the tough decision. We all saw the Mitchell Pearce stuff 7 years ago. Yes, it did turn out to be a masterstroke getting Cooper Cronk and winning back-to-back premierships. But, long term, I did mention this last week, that even though that worked short term, long term, you got to say it's been a bit of a debacle in the halves department. Obviously, Kyle Flanagan in 2020, and then circumstances saw the rise of Sam Walker, similar to Hugo Savala. So Luke Keary, obviously, we all remember in 2021, his season was cut short early on due to a knee injury, ACL injury to be exact. And due to an injury crisis, Sam Walker was given a chance when he was 18 years of age and won the Rookie of the Year. And turned out, and then he's been one of our best players since. And then obviously Hugo Savala, with Sam Walker down for the half of basically the entire 24 season, 25, I should say, apart from the last eight weeks or so. Hugo Savala grabbed an opportunity in round 6 after a 1-5 start, seeing Chad Townsend underperforming. So he got an opportunity and took it with both hands, and he was a key role of this side, getting us to play finals footy. So we have made these big decisions before, and obviously Toby Rodwell is 19 years of age. He did lead he did lead us to an SG Ball title this year. He represented New South Wales in the under-19 Origin. So he's got the runs on the board, lower grades, and he played a bit of reserve grade towards the back end. So I still think it'd be a couple years off, like you said. But I think the player option with DC, if it comes true, could work in Toby Rodwell's favour and not Fluffy's, because around 2028, Toby would be around about that 21, 22 years of age bracket. So that could be the way that they're seeing it as a long-term 6. But in terms of Fluffy, though, I reckon, they're hearing a lot of reports that we're going to evolve him into a lock /14 long-term, which I like, because he's got that built to be a ball-playing lock. He's got the height, got a great kicking game, good IQ, or good ball handling, a playmaker yourself. So I can see the direction there, but it's a tough one though, because I really don't want to see, a local junior, and everyone loves to bag this club out, say that, we got no juniors, we got no fans, but we have a Roosters junior, a local Roosters junior who grew up in Bronte in our ranks, and yet looks like he's been, we're prioritizing a 37-year-old halfback who has won a premiership, has done everything in the game. He's represented his state. He's captained his state to multiple series wins. He's represented Australia. But it's a tough one. That's one I'm more torn about it. So, but it's very, very interesting to see what we do with this whole situation. Can hear your thoughts as well?
Yeah, I always love the shout of Savala transitioning into being a forward. We saw Ryan Madison do it, for example. Kim Long's a big body 5'8", transitioned into back row.
Yes, he did. 2016. Yeah. That was a bizarre year.
Exactly. And Ryan Madison's a premiership winner with the Roosters. So Robinson has done it before. He's done it successfully. I'd love to see Savala do that. The key is you've got that to balance with the fact that Robson and Watson are in the side. We know that Robertson is like to use Nafahu White as a starting lock, particularly towards the end of the 2025 season.
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to fit all those pieces in, White essentially can't be lock. We have to move into a Watson lock situation or Savala, and then have whichever one of them isn't starting come off the bench, with White just being a front rower. We'll see whether he does that, because I prefer a coach to play the style he wants to play rather than play the style that tries to fit all the best players on the field at the same time. That's not necessarily going to be the way that you get success. But I trust Robbo implicitly. I trust his game plan. And if it involves Savala at 13, I am a happy boy. I'd love to see that.
100%. Any means necessary to keep Hugo at the club, do it. I know the club aren't interested in letting him go. It's obviously a bit of media talk from Hugo's management and all that. But truthfully, I heard that he is going to test the open market, but he's still on a development contract with the Roosters. So you maybe want to see what his value is, because he hasn't really had a big contract yet, because he's still young. Is that You reckon that would be true, or is that just the media trying to
Yep.
be the media? Because I reckon that could. I reckon honestly, I heard that from a rumor from a source that I'm not going to reveal, obviously, but I reckon that is a general play. And if that is the case, what do you reckon the club should be throwing at Hugo Savala? Anything under 500, I'd be happy with. I think that'd be reasonable. It's hard to say, though, because he's only played 21 games of first grade, but the potential's there, obviously.
Yeah, he is on a development contract. So I don't blame him whatsoever for going out and testing the open market. Especially if he does back himself as a halfback, you look out there at the clubs that would be willing to take a risk on a halfback for quite decent money. We've just seen like Lachlan Ilias, who's not a bad player by any means, but he's just gone up to the Titans because they're just after anyone who's a genuine halfback. Savala might have been a good fit up there, for instance. But anyway, that's a whole different thing. In terms of what we could offer him, it really does depend on what position we view him as. Because if we want to transition him into back row or hook or lock, we can't be paying him halfback money. Not if we're in the business of putting together a roster that can win premierships. So I think what'll happen is he'll go to open market. If there's interest out there, we'll see. But if there isn't, he might sit back and go, okay, well, I love the club. They need players that are, back rowers or locks. I'll transition into that role and have that as a way of staying a one club player like he said he wanted to be, even if it does mean that he'll be earning less money than he might do in the 7 jersey.
Yep, I agree. I reckon, though, obviously with the Victor Radley stuff suspended for the first 9 to 10 weeks next season, I think that might help Hugo cementing his spot into the team. Now, I had a little bit of discussion about this myself today, just on my own. Obviously, seeing how well Benaya has played well in the Pacific Championship for Samoa. Now, it's got me interested, though, with Reece Robson here at the club now. And if you may recall in the Origin series the last 2 years, Reece Robson has played big minutes in Origin with Connor Watson as the 14. And Connor Watson's only got around that 15, 20-minute mark at max in those Origin games. Now, my question is, though, is it worth having a Benaya at 14 for 15 minutes in the last 15 minutes where this could help Hugo having as a 14 where Connor Watson starts at lock or vice versa, where them two can rotate as a lock, and then when Reece Robson is ready to put his hand up and say, I'm done, I'm tired, that's when we can put Watson into the 9, because we've seen it this year how well he played at the hooker, and keep Hugo as a 13, rotate between them 3. Do you reckon that would make more sense than having Benaya at 14? It's a tough blow because Benaya has been absolutely incredible this year in his debut season, and he's cementing his spot as the number 1 hooker for Samoa leading into a World Cup next year. But is there, it's hard though. What is Robbo? It's a tough headache to have, a good headache sometimes, but what do you reckon is the play there?
Yeah, I really like the rotation that you just described. I think it does work in Hugo's favor just because of that versatility to play lock. I look at Benaya and I love him. I think he's got so much potential and he is signed with us until the end of 2028. Yep. But I do worry that his path is blocked by Robson being there and Watson being there. When you look at, say, at Manly right now, there's rumors that Lachlan Croker might have to medically retire, which would be, obviously very tragic. If that happens, they've lost Chang Kum Tong. Jake Simpkin would be their main hooker. I'm taking Benaya over Jake Simpkin, respectfully, every day of the week. If you then have them come in and say, you can be our full-time 9, it could be difficult to keep Benaya at the club and saying, you'll play a bit during Origin, but really that's it. So I hope we can keep them all, but I don't know if we can.
Yeah, it can't keep everyone, unfortunately. So that does prove that the Roosters do have a salary cap because we can't keep everyone. But yeah, look, it is going to be interesting. It's going to be a very interesting preseason. Obviously, the Roosters went back today, and obviously not everyone will be back today. Majority of the guys that were over playing rep duties, they'll be back in January. But I think DC is another couple of weeks away before he returns. So it's a massive preseason for the likes of Benaya, for the likes of Hugo Savala, and also Victor Radley as well, because Victor Radley, even though is a how good he is at this club. Yes, he's suspended for the first 10 weeks, but it's not like he's going to walk straight back into the side because we've got the likes of Nat Butcher returning from injury. We've got like the rise of the Va'a brothers, Celessi Fiketti, Blake Steep, all these guys. So it's good squad balance at the moment. So it's going to be hard to fit everyone into the 17 next year. So it's a very, very important preseason coming up for those that are, spots maybe in the question.
Yeah, the depth is insane. Two guys that weren't even mentioned there. Egan Butcher, who I think had a really good end to the season.
Yeah, Egan. Yeah, he had a great end of the year.
Taylor Lazalu, even, who filled in very, very well at various points. So, yeah, we've had a lot of injuries in the forwards, obviously, in recent seasons. But those guys now, the benefit is they've all had first grade experience. So now we have a super, super deep team. You look at, even aside from the forwards, look at the outside backs. A guy like Junior Ponga, who didn't really get that many minutes last season, he's a super, super good backup outside back. It's a kind of thing where him, Junior Tupou, like that's premiership quality depth that we now have.
Yep, and Cody Ramsey as well that we just signed. So we've got some options going forward for all around the park. Funny that you mentioned Junior Ponga. Like, he obviously had a bad run with injury last year. This year, I should say. But like you said, like every time I reckon he's been the best backup winger in the comp. Every time he's done a job for the Roosters, he's performed 100%. 10 out of 10 performances, you would say. So it's good to have that quality of depth in our side. And, if circumstances come to the fact that, DCE isn't at his potentially best at the Roosters, we've got Hugo there. He's done the job. So, look, it's a tough one to be fluffy because, maybe does he feel like a bit of a betrayal from his own club? It's like, well, hang on a minute. Like, how well did I play this year? And then here's DCE rolling in. It's like, is that a sign to say you guys don't trust me? You guys don't back me? Like, it's a tough situation to feel. I couldn't imagine what is going through the head of Fluffy, but it's very, very interesting going forward. Like, it's going obviously he's locked in the next year, which is a good sign, but it's going to be a very, very interesting talking points throughout the season with DCE. With a player option, he can activate, if that's true, he can activate that whenever he wants. And obviously, Hugo Savala is a free agent. So it's very, very interesting going forward next year. A bit mercury at times as well.
It is, but as Roosters fans always say, Robbo and Politis, they do have this long-term vision all the time. So I trust that there's a method to the madness. But you are right in saying, as Savala, I'm sure it would be really, really tough to take, but at least it is a guy with like the frankly legendary status of Cherry Evans.
Yeah.
Right? Like Hugo literally would have watched him growing up, So It's not a nobody who's coming in over the top, but rugby league is a very, very tough business. Once we showed that we were going to do that to Mitchell Pearce, premiership winner, like, a dude who literally did everything with us. If we could do it to him, we can do it to anyone in the pursuit of a premiership, which at the end of the day, that's what we play for. So,
that's what it actually says in our club, in the club offices and everywhere you look about the Sydney Roosters, we play for premiership. So, and we're in the premiership business, and you've got to say that we are I know it's early days. This is very, very early days, but we are in the genuine premiership contention category next season. So, obviously, look, I can see the way this goes next year, where it's going to be a slow start. If we take our minds back to 2018, we had a slow start with Cooper Cronk at the helm. Tedesco took their time to gel. But once we hit the whips cracking at the right time of the season, Robbo loves to start slow, time their run to perfection in winning a title. So I think that's the way I'd see it, is like if there are signs where we're 3-3, four wins, 3 losses, 5 wins, 4 losses, hold the horses, because this is a pretty, I know I would love to see us out of the blocks, keep the media quiet, because I know what's going to be like, a couple of losses here and there. Oh, was it the right idea? Brigham DCE, but it is going to be, the pressure's on. It's a risk. Like you said, it's a bit of a gamble. We've done it in the past and it's worked, but it is a big gamble, because if it goes wrong, people will let us know about it.
Yeah. And, we talk about premiership windows and all these young guys we have coming through. The fact is, Tedesco's probably got 1 or 2 seasons left, himself.
Yep.
We're talking about replacing him from within as well. The dude, is it Bathing-Swaite? It's some crazy long name.
Yeah, I've heard of him. Yes.
Yeah, the fullback we've got coming through, and Tedesco's publicly backed him to be his successor. So
yes, he did.
You potentially see another mini rebuild after that. So it could literally be this year is the year that we target a premiership. The Nwangani Tawase is going, Tupou's probably retiring. It'll be a little mini 2024 again, maybe. So
yeah, this could be the last hurrah for some of these guys. It could be the last hurrah for Nick Politis as a chairman. Does he want to go out as one more premiership winner before he retires as well? So it's a big period coming up. Obviously, preseason starting today. It's a big couple months before we get into the trial game. So we'll know more then. But my final question on the DCE topic: what would be a pass mark signing? Is it premiership or bust, or are we being a little bit lenient in the first season?
Well, when Cooper Cronk came, it was certainly premiership or bust, and he somehow exceeded that expectation by delivering us 2 of them. I think that this is genuinely very similar stakes. I think it's almost an exact same signing in many respects. They're slightly different players for sure, but we're getting the local halfback out of the team for the old experienced guy. I do think it has to be premiership as the target.
Yeah, I think so. Look, it's been 7 years without a premiership. That's unheard of in the Roosters in the last decade. So we want it seeing, the scenes of the Broncos winning the comp this year, Penrith for the last 4 years. It's like I have hard to say it's 7 years ago, but I only have little memories of the 2018-19 grand finals, even though I was at both of them and I was outside the Leagues Club at 3 a.m. after the 19 grand final. My brother was inside the Leagues Club, but it's especially as a content creator. I haven't, even though I was doing game day vlogs for the Roosters, but no one really knew who I was then. So I want to be like Flaxy, boasting about the fact of us winning premierships and walking.
You will be.
Yeah,
Manifest.
Eventually that will be the case. Next year, hopefully. And then Hugo Savala, does he stay or does he go?
Yeah. I think deep down, I probably think he unfortunately goes. Even though his heart will want him to stay, the best thing for his career will probably be to move on, unless he is prepared to be a forward from now on.
Yeah, it is a tough one. Do you wait a year and go, I can learn off DCE? And surely the club has a plan for this as well. I'm sure they've got a plan. I've said this all week. There must be a plan with Hugo. They can't just keeping him out of the loop on this.
Well, the thing is with waiting, yes, 100%, that would seem like a good idea to do. But from his perspective, he would have spent the last few years coming through thinking, okay, I'm waiting for Luke Keary to retire. Same with Sanders Smith. It's the exact same reason why I think Sandon is now at the Newcastle Knights, because he waited and then the chance kind of went past him. So it could be a tough pill to swallow for Hugo to say, well, you actually might need to wait potentially another 2 years if you want to have a go at first grade. By then, obviously, Rodwell will be in the team as well. So there's no guarantees, which is why I say I think maybe if another club is willing to come in and say, here's a starting half jersey, I think it might be best for him to take it.
Yeah, well, as much as loyalty and love for your football club that you supported your whole career, at the end of the day, it is a short career. As much as, 10, 12 years is still 10, 12 years, but still short. You got to set yourself up for life after football. So sometimes you got to think about yourself more than, than anything else. So it is going to be tricky. So it's going to be very, very interesting as the weeks go by. I don't think we're going to hear too much over the off season, but when the whips start cracking next season, I think there'll be a lot of talk about it each week, regardless after a Roosters win or loss. It's going to be very, very interesting. Now, we'll move on into not some breaking news, but hearing some reports coming out today that round 1 has been potentially leaked, and I'm not a fan of this. I know, Leaguey, we said this in the green room. We're not a fan of this. Round 1, we expect it hasn't been officially announced, with the NRL draw coming out this week, I believe, sometime either Thursday or Friday. But we are going to Shark Park in round 1, Saturday, 5:30 p.m. at Shark Park yet again. I despise this ground. Leaguey, you were there, the semi-final. I was there. It was not a good ending to the year. Look, maybe we start where we finish off what we started last year kind of thing. But we're at Shark Park. Apparently not 100% true. Could be wrong, but that's what I've been told. Obviously, the NRL draw is expected to be announced this week. And as usually as the NRL draw gets closer to being announced, we get some reports of, the NRL like to release Magic Round early, round 1 early before the draw comes out. So keep an eye out the next couple of days. But League, your thoughts on this one, mate? We're going back to Shark Park.
It does suck to be starting where it all finished. I mean, that place just does not have happy memories anymore. So that's not ideal. I mean, I live in Canberra, but I'm from the Shire. I spend a lot of time up in the Shire. And even I, like when the Roosters are playing at Shark Park, I'm in two minds about going. Like it's really just round the corner, but it is such a drab venue so often. It's hard to get in of, it's hard to get out of. I mean, yeah, I'd much rather be playing at Allianz, but we did get an Allianz home game in round 1 this year. I can understand the need to rotate, give the Cronulla fans something. And it would be absolutely beautiful poetry if we did start the season by getting just a little bit of revenge on those Cronulla Sharkies.
Yeah, would be absolutely awesome to be part of that. But very interesting, though. DCE, how long do you reckon that the NRL have known this? I know AI generated the draw, but surely they had a rough idea about this signing and they could have just gone, you know what, Manly Roosters, Brookie Oval, Sunday afternoon, round 1. Why do you reckon they haven't done that? But
that's a really good point. They really should have done that.
You imagine the scenes. Like, you look at the big transfers over the years. Like, remember, 2013 when we played the Bulldogs at Allianz, the first time, it wasn't round 1, obviously, but, obviously, and round 1 that year, we played South and SBW's return against the arch rival. And obviously, Sam Burgess got the better of him that night. But then, obviously, round 6, SBW played the Bulldogs for the first time at Allianz. He got booed by the whole Bulldogs fans, but he turned into an absolute man of the match performance. So, I think even though it was during COVID, but, even though it was 3 years after the fact, but Latrell's homecoming to Allianz Stadium against the Roosters, that was the anticipated clash. So you can sort of see, could you imagine that open the season with that much hatred? Because I reckon Manly fans have been holding a lot of things about DCE since the announcement. They will get their chance, but I reckon they miss an opportunity for round 1.
Yeah, I agree completely. That thought had literally not occurred to me, but that is such a good point. And it's stuff like that where I do often feel that the NRL kind of missed the boat on a lot of these things. I'd love to see when we do play Manly, like, it could be that they know that there's going to be a lot of hype for round 1, no matter who plays. So maybe say we play Manly in round 2 or 3, they know, okay, well, then we're going to be able to carry that hype through a little bit and there'll be a bit more anticipation perhaps. But it would have been really, really cool to see. Imagine that entire hill, booing that man. Would have been insane.
It would have been fireworks. Look, you're right in the fact that whatever round 1 is, it's always going to be hot. So regardless on wherever you play Roosters, Manly, Roosters, South, all these big games for the Roosters, you're always going to get attraction from it. So it is smart, but I think selfishly as NRL fans, we would love to see it at round 1. But it could be round 1 because maybe this report may be false, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see on this. But I think Manly fans, that would be the one game that they want circled when they're looking at the draw. When are we playing the Roosters? And maybe a little bit of a throwback to the old days between Manly and East, where that used to be a big rivalry in the 70s and 80s. So good to see it back as well. So it is going
Battle of the Birds, Battle of the Beaches,
Battle of the Birds, Battle of the Bridge.
Yes.
We own the East. They own Mossman out that way, the peninsula. So it's going to be interesting. Let's see what else we can quickly cover. What do you? Obviously, the Pacific Championships yesterday, you would have done a deep dive with Kempy and the boys there on Bloke this morning. But Nafahu White, probably you'd say the Rooster performed the best in the Pacific Championship / Ashes in international point of view? What are your thoughts on the Fahu White, how good he was yesterday?
Yeah, well, he made 200 meters. And yeah, we speak about that Kiwi forward pack of literally Fisher, Harris, and the Oto. They've won 4 comps together, Tarpany in at lock. But the impact that White had off the bench with Aaron Clark as well was just insane. Like I'd like to know your thoughts on this, because I said on Bloke earlier today, throughout like Jared's career, when he was getting to the back end of it, he was obviously sort of almost grooming Lindsay Collins to be the next guy, right? The next alpha. I feel like it's Nafahu White. Would you agree with that? Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, he's only
100%.
23 years old as well. Like this guy, he's played 2 full seasons of first grade. He could be so good for us. I'm so hyped about him.
I was actually speaking to one of our followers yesterday about it. Like Jared was a once in a generational prop, but Nafahu White is more stronger, more powerful, and just more damaging than Jared ever was. And Jared was the physical presence. It's like, I'm the big dog. You've got to get run through me. He was tough as nails. One of the toughest front rows to ever do it. It wasn't all about the stats with Jared. It was setting the tone. You're not beating me. I'm beating the line kind of thing. But Nafahu White, he's got that power to make big meters, the work ethic to make 40, 50 tackles in the middle. Like, I do agree. Like, he are both Kiwi as well. So I reckon low key that Jared has really said Nafahu's the guy. And we identified as Nafahu's the guy. Because not a lot of people would have thought that when Terrell May was let go around this time last year. Everyone was thinking, what were we doing? But Uncle Nick, Robbo, has a plan. Nafahu White, they identified as that guy. And he has taken the opportunity with both hands and has been absolutely superb for both club and country in 2025. And I said it yesterday as a question, is he becoming the best front rower in the game? Now, hard to say. Payne Haas is Payne Haas. He's a freak, but I reckon he's up there as at least a close second at this current time of recording. What do you think?
Well, Kempy said earlier today that he thinks White is now in that elite category, along with your Fisher, Harris, Tarpany. He's of that caliber, which when we speak about the effects of this season and blooding all these young forwards, to have a guy like him who still wouldn't be on much money at all, coming through now being of that quality at the Roosters, it speaks volumes about our player development. It's so good. And being able to have literally a rotation that, okay, we were talking earlier about the lock position being hopefully one of Savala or Watson. That'd mean our front row of rotation is Collins, Lenu, White. You could have, Steep potentially in the middle off the bench. You could have Fiketti. Take your pick. So good.
It seems to be unfair at this point. But, look, we've got a really, really good forward pack, and I think Nafahu is going to be that guy that's going to lead us into the future. It's a good squad going in the next year. I'm a little bit excited, but obviously it all depends on how DC fits into the side. Obviously, Gussie had a decent performance for the Aussies in the Ashes. I thought he played really, really well, especially that quick play to ball that led to the Harry Grant try that opened the game up for the Aussies over there. What are your thoughts on the Aussies' performances in the Ashes? Because I think Lindsay was a little bit unlucky in game 2, didn't get a lot of minutes, but I thought he had a good game in game 3. Robbed of a try. Now, the reason why I say robbed of a try, because the in goal was 5 meters. Leaguey, you're a massive fan of the Super League and all that. What's doing over there? Why is it 5 meter in goal areas? If it was at Allianz, Leaguey, Lindsay Collins scores. What's doing?
It's just a different kind of rule set, basically. But the sort of effect of it, they have to play with a lot of soccer venues, and those are just shorter fields. So it kind of has to be that way.
Yeah.
But I mean, Collins was pretty solid in game 3, aside from a very bad defensive read for the Jez Litton line break that led to the George Williams try. Aside from that, he was pretty solid, and it's good to see him still consistently making these representative sides. As we say, I think probably White has passed him at the Roosters. I think, in my opinion, Lenu has passed him at the Roosters. But for the third best Roosters front rower to be a dude who is just a shoe-in to the Queensland and Australia squad, that's a brilliant sign that we've built a brilliant roster.
3 international forwards. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, and to see Crichton going well, I mean, we obviously know last time he was over in England for the World Cup, he had some personal issues that he was experiencing over there. So it's a really nice sort of contrast to now where he seems so happy. He's playing great footy, big win for Australia in the Ashes series. So really, really good to see our man thriving like that.
Yeah, Gussie, always good to see him playing well. Marky Mark, I thought he was okay, but a couple of errors. Very uncharacteristic errors from Marky Mark, but might be just a bit of the excitement trying to inject himself into the game more because I was obviously on the United podcast with Lincoln with the Ashes live streams. I noticed it like we just weren't giving Marky Mark and Adokar any ball throughout the entire series. It was a bit of a power game through the middle kind of thing. But look, obviously his first representative duties for himself in rugby league, potentially his final, depending. Look, I think he should be the number one favorite to be the New South Wales winger with Toto next year. And the way I see it, until he's no longer a Rooster, no longer contracted to the NRL, I think he should be every part of that World Cup squad next year for the Kangaroos before he goes to the Wallabies. But has he done enough, though, in his first time representing the green and gold?
I think so. I mean, look, there are very few Australian players that really did do all that well. I mean, it was quite clear, I think, as soon as game one happened, really, that they knew their opposition wasn't really going to beat them. They knew that they could show up and put in a 6 out of 10 performance, maybe a 7 out of 10 performance, and still get the chockies. So I think it was a case where, like, yes, he made a lot of errors, certainly, but he was also just trying things because he could. Right, like we saw. I think it was game one where he did like the offload to himself. Like,
Yeah, that was ridiculous. That was ridiculous.
Yeah. So,
he's got that bad, and that's for sure.
But look, as long as he's not doing that with the Roosters, where you do have to be locked in from minute 1 to minute 80. But we'll see how he goes next season. I mean, I'm so excited with him having a full year of NRL under his belt. He could explode next year. And yeah, at the moment, if I was picking my Blues team, he's there for sure.
Yeah, 100%. There was obviously not a lot of talk about this whatsoever, but like a key out for the England side for the entire Ashes series was Victor Radley. Do you reckon he has any sort of impact in the Ashes series? I know physically, yes, but maybe his ball playing, better shape to unlock AJ Brimson and, the England backline. What do you think? Obviously, you're a big fan of, the international game, especially England. But what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I don't mind the idea at all. I mean, I love Radley as a ball player, and certainly the England attack was very stagnant at times. But look, I mean, I could talk for ages about them. The more I reflect on that series, the more I think they realistically just didn't have the team to compete. They could have won a game if they were at their very best and Australia were close to their worst. Unfortunately, I don't think Victor Radley really would have swayed the scoreline all that much as I love him. The thing is, we said, I don't know if it was on air or off air, but we said it on Bloke earlier today that, like, the issue is if England had performed better and were closer to an 8 or a 9 out of 10, Australia would have gone, oh, okay, they're here to play. We'll just go up a gear then and still win, probably by a similar margin. So, yeah, it's very difficult to say.
It is difficult to say. I think I thought they played tough, England, but they just didn't have that X factor to break the game open and score points because they had a lot of field position. And you'd probably say if it was, the other way, in the NRL with a team with that much field position, just say it was, Newcastle playing Penrith. If they had that much ball, Newcastle would probably find a way to score points. But England, I mean, Australia's defense was good. That was probably, the best part about this series was their defense. I didn't think they conceded 2 tries in 3 games. So, but yeah, which brings me to my next point then. Sam Walker was born in England. Do you reckon Sam Walker would choose England if you have like Dearden and Cleary ahead of him? What could that be a possibility going forward to the next Ashes trip with Sam Walker in the team for England?
I don't quote me on this, but I think I remember when Radley made the switch, they asked Walker that question and he just ruled it out completely. But as you say, when in the international game, if you've got guys ahead of you like Cleary, like Dearden, I guess you never say never, you know. We saw AJ Brimson do it, so could the little halfback born in Leeds, could he potentially play for England? I guess you can't rule it out.
I told Lincoln that on Sunday on the live stream. He's like, "What? Was he born in England?" I was like, "Yeah, he was born in Leeds, so he's eligible to play for England." So maybe if England, I don't think they'll ever do it, but maybe demoted to a tier 2 might open the door. But just maybe a little bit of a wink to a little bit of a head scratcher to finish up on. So the final thing before I let you go, Lee, I do appreciate you coming on, mate. Obviously, we little spoke about Cody Ramsey, Blake Steep re-signing as well. Big re-signing as well. That's one of the main ones that we wanted to lock down alongside the likes of Siwa Wong. But yeah, Blake Steep, massive re-signing.
Yeah, I mean, I love him. And it's not just because he's got, the holy chin from Boyd Cordner.
The Boyd Steep, we all call him.
For sure. He's a guy who genuinely, I think he'd be comfortable at lock, at back row, at prop. He seems so versatile in those forward positions. It's good to see. I'm pretty sure he's a product of the Central Coast from memory, I think.
Port Macquarie. So yeah, Roosters Academy. So he's part of that, system. I think it was one of the first ones that come from the academy. One of the first. Right. So
yeah. So to see, the more academies players coming through, the better. We're seeing like the Siwa Wong really hitting their stripes now. But we spoke earlier about depth, bro. Like back row, starting with Crichton and Radley when he comes back. You've then got Wong, Fiketti, Butcher, other Butcher.
It's ridiculous,
mate.
And a lot of people as well were, a little bit disappointed about the season it was, but like, what a season we had that we've had these guys that have debuted and haven't had much first grade experience. They've had a whole season under their belt now. Like Toya, Fiketti, Steve, Benaya, all these guys have now just had a full season under their belt in first grade. That is going to work wonders next season. If they do, if some of them might not get a lot of game time as, they did this year, but when they do get that opportunity, they're going to be ready for it because they've had that taste, they've had that experience.
Yeah, so, and, when we talk about, say, like the 2018 Premiership winning side, we had Talkiaho come in only a few years earlier than that, gave him a lot of first grade experience. It's guys like that who we look back on them now, we're like, oh yeah, they're established like legends of the Roosters, but they all had their time where we, gave them experience, got them through, and guys like White, Wong, and potentially Steep, I really genuinely believe we could look back at them in years to come and be like, how on earth did we have all of those guys in one squad? It's so good.
Yeah, 100%. Like, it always clips my mind back to 2016 when we debuted Joey Manu in a disappointing season. He had that taste around 16, 17, then hit the ground running in 18 and won 2 premierships and became one of their best players. So, look, we get a lot of sick about our juniors and all that kind of stuff, but we have got some good ones there and they're ready to hit the ground running come 2026. It's really, really exciting year. Obviously, there's going to, in any premiership, whether or not we do or not, any season, there's going to be roller coaster rides. So it is going to be exciting, but a lot of anticipation. Now that the Pacific Championships ended, we're in a little bit of a hiatus now of no rugby league. So, but always good to have those little chats about the Roosters going forward, Leaguey. So I do appreciate you coming on, mate.
Never too much Chook chat. Yeah,
always good. We'll have Leaguey on regularly throughout the year, and so depending on, he has signed the contract, he will be a part of it at some points. But we will be rotating through the Roosters community, having our fans and content creators on. So we will have Leaguey back soon, but we'll have someone else on next week. So Leaguey, thank you so much for your time, mate. I hope you're doing well. Congratulations on being a part of Bloke in the Bar and the team there over the Pacific Championships, and all the best with the legal stuff.
Thank you.
The lawyer stuff. Don't sue me for anything.
Need it. I won't. You don't have any money for me to sue you for anyway, so it's all right.
I got no money, mate. I spend all twice in Sydney each week. So awesome, mate. All right. Thank you so much for your time, mate. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Smash that like button, subscribe to Leaguey as well. almost at 10K, I believe. Getting close.
Very close.
One of the up and coming rising content creators in this community. A really, really good guy and deserves all the love that he deserves. And make sure you follow us on the Instagram as well. We're getting close to the 8K on the Instagram as well. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, it's goodbye for now. And it won't want to finish. There we go.